And the thing about megaphones and spreading messages is you need to be able to afford the fucking megaphone. So I guess we could start on the Hasan thing, since that's big news. Yeah, what the fuck is going on? Like what is up with people? Legitimately, I don't understand what is going on with this view of Hasan owning a house. Like, literally, he's no longer paying money to landlords. It's not like he's renting out rooms. He's not buying another house and renting out that house. So he's not a landlord. He bought a house that him and members of his family are going to live in. Like, who the fuck cares? This literally will free him up to do more canvassing and do more protesting, because he's not constantly on the grind to have to pay rent every month. Plus, he lives in LA. Yeah, he participated in society. And I see even friends like Chud Logic are gets it, because he's like, but the thing is, who did he exploit? Who did he exploit? He's paying a mortgage. Exactly. And mortgage is a lot cheaper. It just goes to the banks, and I mean, it is what it is. Median list price in LA for a house in LA are $1 million. Yeah, he didn't make money off the labor of others. Exactly. So, what is the issue here? What is the problem with questioning his leftism here? I don't understand. Yeah, it's about Hasan. I don't understand it at all. I have somebody in my replies right now trying to convince me that he's a bad leftist. Because it's like, let me read you guys this. Oh, because Tom and I said, back to Chud Logic again, a bud, or at least his producer, isn't continuing to rent and benefiting a landlord, worse? I think this frees up time, as having a house is easier and cheaper per month to deal with in the long run. We should see how he uses that time and then judge. Until then, I just don't understand. This person says, isn't the affordability of housing in LA something socialists, including Hasan himself, have railed against? I think it's worse, also hypocritical, to contribute to that lack of affordability than it is to rent. It's better to benefit landlords than it is to own your own home. So I replied, it's literally not. Considering the availability of housing isn't because of people buying single homes, it's landlords. He's not contributing to it. He's living in a society. Which they said, wait, so what happens when the wealthy are the only ones able to purchase housing? Does that not increase the value of said property? Also, no, buying a home over 3 times the average cost wherever you live is not just living in society. It's buying the fucking castle. Peasants can't. The fuck? So I said, this is insane. Buying up multiple housing projects to rent out creates false scarcity, which drives up housing costs. Any good leftist knows this. Come on. And then they said, and any reasonable leftist should know buying a mansion 3 times the market rate, which it's not a mansion. I've seen it. That's not a mansion. That's like a nice house in my area. It's a very nice house. That's not a mansion. Literally not a mansion. Like, let's just do a thing here. Let's type in generic mansion into Google and see what Google comes up with. Mm-hmm. 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 And now let's do Hasan Hiker's house. Once again, I'm going to remind you, this. His family's going to live with them. The same leftists need to look up what 2.7 million can get you in Texas. Yeah. What you would typically see in Texas. Yeah, seriously. And like, let's go over a couple of critiques who remain consistent. The critique of somebody like Jimmy Dore owning that $2 million house is because he pretends to have leftist politics, but he has no politics. He does things specifically for his show and to benefit himself. And that's why the $2 million home and his pretending to be working class, or even remembering what it is to be working class, which Jimmy never was at any point in his life, is a valid critique. The critique of OK Boomer Girl was that people were concerned that she was a grifter and that she was vaguely hinting at leftist politics. Jimmy never held a job. He was a manager for his dad's business. Yep. He went to private school all his life. He quit being the manager of his dad's private business to pursue comedy. Yeah, so no. Exactly. Jimmy is not working class. Never has been. Like, the OK Boomer Girl started tweeting out like fairly right libertarian arguments on Twitter, started pushing crypto, and then bought that $2 million apartment. Got to get that grip money. Yeah. Yeah. So you have a combination of the politics not seeming consistent with what they say publicly and what they push publicly. And then you have using that to buy something with a lot of money. And Hasan watched that video and said that she absolutely got fucked on the price of that apartment. I'm in a managerial position at the moment. It took me 4 years after college to get there. Yeah. So the critiques there are their politics were already in question and that they were doing this just to benefit themselves. Hasan has been pushing for years. Like, let's go back to some early history of when Hasan first started working for his uncle back in the day. He started working for TYT when they first started out in the living room. Some of the stories that he tells are of him and several other people sleeping in Cenk's living room for months to get the show up and running consistently. Like, if you really look at his history of working for TYT back when he was a behind the scenes guy, he worked his fucking ass off. He didn't get that big out of nowhere. He had to carry tons of shit. So, and he did it for very, very little pay. When TYT started, they were not making money. People tend to forget that. When I first started watching TYT, Cenk was talking about this Pontiac Grand Am, this 99 Pontiac Grand Am that he owned for close to 10 years. And until TYT started getting like millions of subscribers, he was still not able to afford a different car until he finally did. But he used to tell stories about that all the time. Talk about how it broke down. Sometimes he'd miss shows because it broke down. So imagine how many shows Haas missed, who was a constant reference on the show in the background, because he couldn't ride with his uncle to work when they got like a separate studio. Imagine. What does that sound like to you? Sounds like a serious fucking grind. And Hasan's politics have been consistent. Jimmy Dore didn't go out canvassing. OK Boomer Girl didn't go out canvassing. Hasan actually did. He stood up for his politics. He went to protests. Things that OK Boomer Girl and Jimmy Dore have never done. Hasan did. It sounds like his politics are pretty consistent with what he's saying publicly. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to be a major defender of Hasan. There's plenty of critiques of Hasan. But this idea that him buying a house where he's not even going to be the only one living there, his family's members of his family are going to live there with him, is just silly. And him buying it is not contributing to housing prices raising. It's landlords who do that. The false scarcity that landlords create is a far bigger problem than Hasan owning a house and not renting it out to people, taking in multiple people into this house. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, what leftists tell me when they get mad at him for owning a house is that they would much rather benefit the landlord class than have somebody actually have a thing. Landlords, banks, metropolitan governments, yes, they'd rather he pay rent and live in a shitty apartment where he has no control over anything and continues to get exploited. For what? Because it's the better leftist thing to do? How? How? It appears more to be speculators, including tech firms and Zillow. I mean, that too. It's a combination of things, but the majority of it is housing. It's rent seeking. Rent seeking is a huge problem in the country. Hey, Vaughn, good to see you. Venture cap is definitely contributing. Yeah. It's absolutely insane. This is a nice house. It's not even that big. This is just like a kind of nice 2-story house with a pool. God damn. There's like no land. I guarantee this is the entirety of his land. Fucking kidding me? This is fine. My brother has a porch that looks like this. He built it himself. And he works for Chrysler. In the shop. I'm sorry. Am I also supposed to say that my brother is rich? Which he's not? You can tell that to all the bills that he still has to pay to catch up on everything that happened when his son was born premature. Venture cap is interested in housing because bricks and mortar are safe and we're in a pandemic. Yeah. They also want to keep prices high and boost it higher, but yeah. Yeah. So I don't fucking get it. I don't. Oh shit, Bothered Boy posted something about it. Let's check out his video on it real quick.
Hi everyone, here's what's bothering me today. The discourse on Twitter for the entirety of the day, from when I went to commute to work, when I was on break at work, and on my commute back from work, the only thing I seem to see, all the discourse about how Hasan Piker bought a house. Now, not just any house, a pretty swanky looking place in West Hollywood. So of course lots of people are saying, well, you know, this isn't very socialist of you, and I do not want to get into that. I'll get to what I want to get to in a second. But just everyone, whether you're on Hasan's side or against him, just so much discourse was focused on him.
That's true, Katrina. And he is a decently nice house. You know, he lives in the suburbs of Flint. He doesn't live in Flint like I do. But I mean, he bought it, you know, rather than continuing to rent. Because him and his wife could do that. And they're not renting stuff out. He's not being a landlord, which is a bigger problem. Do it. You do it. Do it. Okay. Anyways. When you can buy in Detroit for like $5,000. Yeah, downtown Detroit. Like if you're living in like downtown Detroit, yeah, you're pretty rich. Like the richest areas in Flint are like Fenton. And he lives in Flushing. Flushing has some combination of nice houses and very rural housing. It goes all over the place. And he has a decently nice house. It's not as big as Hasan's, but he also doesn't make as much money as Hasan. But literally, his back porch looks just like that. No. We're trying to get him to understand no, and he just doesn't. No. Again, as Pizza enters happy place. Let me say something. No, he just wants to bop it against my face. The reason I don't want him to do that is because he's gonna like yank it back and forth, and it's gonna hit me in the mouth. And even with this fluffy part, that doesn't feel good. But he learns two. He's 2, and he learns you about no. Yeah, that's gonna be a thing. Good Lord. Parenting. Sometimes you gotta ask yourself why you wanted to do it. 2 times more square footage and more houses than Hasan's on Zillow. Housing is fucked. Yeah. This is a mansion. This is a mansion, guys. Look, there's an excess of land, a giant pool. Housing extends far beyond what's normal. Like, this is extravagance. I bet that if Hasan's house was like, had all the same inside, but was like designed like normal houses rather than looking like the art project, which is common in LA, people wouldn't be able to say a thing. That would be like, oh, but because it looks a certain way. This is silly. This is silly. All right, let's get to Bothered Boy.
Buying a house, and lots of people throwing excuses for why it's okay or why it's not okay. And for me, really, this was the best take. I'm not mad Hasan bought a house. I'm mad he makes a living off of preaching socialism and does fuck all materially to help it develop. Unless he's somehow funded a union drive or hosts Marxist educational since I last watched him, the point stands. Yeah, I think that's a fairly valid criticism. But even then, none of this is what's actually bothering me today. What bothers me is that America and up here in Canada, we are dealing with a massive homelessness crisis. LA recently criminalized it. They made it a crime to be homeless. And police going and doing just terrible clearances and destroying the few possessions that homeless people own.
That's not true.
We've seen that from sunny California to here in Canada and even in Toronto, supposedly progressive Toronto. And with the eviction moratoriums ending on both sides of the border,
True,
what's absolutely infuriating me today is that all this energy, all this time and devotion to Hasan buying a swanky ass house is not being used to actually meaningfully help people. We're all guilty of this. How many of those here in Canada tweeting because we're mad about Hasan Piker buying a house? How many of us donated to Raise the Roof or to Acorn? How many of us are actually working with our local Acorn chapters? How many of those in America ranting and railing about Hasan Piker are also taking the time out of their busy schedules either today or, this upcoming weekend, it is Friday after all, to go and show solidarity with homeless people and prevent clearances or go and fight and help tenants organize or anything, right? Instead, hundreds of thousands of us are bitching about Hasan Piker buying a swanky house on the internet. In what world does this fucking matter? And to make it clear, no, I am not defending Hasan Piker. There is legitimate criticism that can be levied his way. But it is just so wild to me that so much energy was devoted to this being the discourse when there's a very real homelessness crisis that's affecting lots of us personally and people we know, and it's in our communities. And instead, we're ranting about the swole bread twitch daddy. I can't tell you how few fucks I give about that. So instead, and to be ever so slightly useful today, I'm going to post some links down below for Americans and Canadians to basically try and help deal with the actual homelessness crisis that is plaguing both our nations right now. And then I'm going to get in touch with my local Acorn chapter and see other ways in which I can help. And then this Sunday, I am going to raise money for residential school survivors with a fuck ton of other really cool people. That's where I'm putting my energy today and this weekend, rather than being mad that Hasan, who makes money as a Twitch streamer in a capitalist system, bought a West Hollywood house. For some reason, this is news when the real news should be the
I don't think
worsening
this is
homelessness
whataboutism.
crisis. And the fact that that's not in the news and that's
What he's trying to do is redirect what conversation we should be having. Because I'm sorry, he's right. It's incredibly frustrating that people spent all this time and energy bitching about Hasan buying a house. And I do agree with that critique. Does he do enough to push socialism? Of course not. Hasan's place in the world on Twitch, and you can say this of all of us, but his specific place is to advance leftist policy and beliefs to a younger generation. And he's good at it. I'm sorry, he is. I don't watch his streams. I watch clips. And I'm sorry, he does a decent breakdown of a lot of things. And he's able to bridge that gap to that younger generation. Yeah, he's propaganda. Propaganda is value neutral. And it's a good thing for us to have because we have so much against us. We have the whole entire apparatus of the United States of America and whatever other capitalist country you live in against you. So we have this guy who's pulling in tens of thousands of people into one stream, not to mention all the clips all over the place on the YouTube channel. He actually that is officially connected with him, and various other ones that just post clips of him. That's reaching a far larger audience. That's a good thing. He's not pushing socialism, but he's pushing the ideas toward a generation that needs to hear these ideas and could possibly get them done. Because so far, his generation, my generation, are failing at it. Making some headway, but we're not there. See 2020 if you want an example. Could not get together. Had people chasing their own dicks, going and voting for Tulsi Gabbard. Why? And that way, Hasan shouldn't have to defend buying his family a house because his left-wing propaganda is actually successful. So we basically agree. Yeah, I just want people to understand what people's places are in this. The guy has done some activism. Hell, most of his career was about helping another leftist propaganda organization, the Young Turks. And that has helped advance our causes too. That created the Justice Democrats. Without the Justice Democrats, we don't have the squad in Congress right now. And we can argue about how effective they are, whatever. But when it boils down to it, that's a lot better situation than what we've had previously, where we're basically just chasing our own tails here. It's silly. And you guys, all this attention and energy given to the man buying a house at 30, where his mom is going to live with him. Again, he's 30. He's bringing in his mom to live with him, and I think like a nephew or two, something like that. I'm trying to remember. I don't know the entire setup, but I know his mom is living in that house that honestly is good for a decent sized family. I'm not gonna sweat it. His brother. Yeah. So what are we doing? I just have a reaction to criticizing the individual. The critique is ridiculous. So sorry, just react badly. No problems. Like, I didn't even think that you reacted that badly. Like, not like this person on Twitter. Not like this. This was probably my favorite one. He said, not to mention he is literally blessed with one of the lucky jobs he could perform literally anywhere with a good internet connection. Why contribute to a problem he's against? Like, because that's where his friends and family are? Oh God, what is the reply? Great, then just admit that he's choosing his own personal benefits over what his actual principles are. That's all you had to do. What? How? How? True leftists are homeless and don't contribute anything to the banking system or the housing system at all. That's what a true leftist does. There's some yoga level stretching. Yeah. Not like he could travel to visit, but I get it. If I was super wealthy, I'd do the same, which is why I don't advocate to harm property owners. What a take. What a take. This idea is just so fucking just not understanding of the situation. I mean, I was a homeless lefty 4 months ago, but fuck, if I had the opportunity to own a house and not pay a landlord in their bank, yeah, give me the keys already. Bingo. I would rather pay a mortgage than pay a landlord. Paying a landlord is a detriment to society as a whole. Because landlords use that money to buy more land. The guy owns one house. Give me a fucking break. I was left. I didn't think Twitch leftist would ever be accessible. Yeah, like, and that's the thing. That's the fucking thing. We should be celebrating their success. It's a thing that I've been saying for a while now. In order
would start kicking in.
The thing I've been saying for a while, in order to be a socialist that people want to listen to, you have to be shown to be good at capitalism, because it removes the argument. It removes the argument that you're just jealous of rich people. Because then you can say, I'm in this upper class and I still see these issues and I still want to do something about them. Why don't you? And they can call him a hypocrite, but that doesn't land anywhere. That doesn't land anywhere. And the thing about megaphones and spreading messages is you need to be able to afford the fucking megaphone. If you can't, no one hears you. So he's got a big ass megaphone and people think that what? Because he bought a house, he needs to give it up? Or what? Platform equals influence. Yep. Influence equals left more likely to win. Exactly. And we start pushing and push. That's why I say, like, in my lifetime, we're not going to get anywhere near socialism. We might get a social democracy. That's about it. And that's going to be after a shitload of pain and strife. It's like my biggest doomer take is the fascists are going to win first, but they're not going to win forever. I'm sorry. I watched how 2020 went. I see how things are going now. We're going to lose again. Welcome to leftism. We constantly lose. We'll get small wins and lose. And then sometimes we get big wins and then lose. We're fighting against the system. And him buying a house doesn't mean anything towards the system. It means he's participating in it. And that's all it is. That's all it is. I've seen all the takes. I've seen all the critiques. And none of them address this simple fact. Does he need to do more activism? Yes. Sure. I'd like to see that. And maybe he will. We've talked about this too long. Hey, it's Mark and Eli. I hope you're doing well. Hope you liked the video. If you liked it, why don't you like, comment, and subscribe? My child may stop picking on me.